The March this time. Ottawa, February 13th, 2003. The policeman I saw at the embassy gazed tenderly at the dancing ones, chanting ones, the shouters and the puppet men, and the many, many more who simply walked in witness, walked with the same intent that wound around the world, tenderly gazed at us. Afterwards in Tim Hortons, the cold we carried in our thighs rose up and laid a mist on all the windows we leaned against. Far too many people for the seating. A nation united this time for peace and coffee. The march this time for peace between nations. One day we may walk for the greater peace needed between humans and the world of other fellow creatures with their many tender gazes. It's a true story.
Well, we'll share with you and then open it up for our collective conversation. Here's one of the universal Cree philosophers. One word, protest. One sentence. Again, they did not have the title of the poem, nor of the book, nor of the poet, nor the page number, nothing, just the words. One sentence. I want to run when the light flashes stop. I want to dash when I reach a stop sign. Signs everywhere to stop me. Here's another universal Cree philosopher. One word, protest. One sentence, united, we will march on. One paragraph, there's power when a lot of people agree and demonstrate their unity. Having a group come together demonstrates the strength of voices being heard. Stream of consciousness. Within a group of a lot of supporters, good things happen. There's always strength in numbers. Even the policeman who's there for riot control seems to agree on whatever cause this march was for, by gazing tenderly at the people. I'll interject my own comment. I must confess, Biggish Worm, I haven't seen a whole lot of gazing tenderly from...
Who has? But that's why I was with the poem.
Okay. Well, here's another universal Cree philosopher. One word, reconciliation. Stream of consciousness. Makes me think the person is writing about the Truth and Reconciliation March they had in Edmonton, I believe, in April. It was cold and emotional. Many, many natives, the most I had seen at once in any place other than a powwow or the gathering of nations in New Mexico. I liked how they put Tim Hortons on there because it is like a place of comfort to many, regardless of race or status. In fact, it's the exact place I went to after I went to the event or conference. Their tweet, their name for this, excuse me. This is, now we're with another universal Cree philosopher. They gave it a name and they titled this Sweet Surrender. Non-violent, peace-loving, calm, cool, collected coffee break. And I asked them to give their working definition of nation. Here's one. A nation is a country of diverse people who share the same beliefs, ideologies, political structure, and language. They identify with each other by sharing a common goal of unity and independence. Here's another universal Cree philosopher. One word, perspective. One sentence. Together, we can help one another. One paragraph. Everyone is affected. Like a ripple effect. Everyone has similar wounds, yet different stories. If we support one another, that is a way to heal the wound. Sounded like a rally. Their tweet, because they also wrote a tweet, walk with us that understand you. We will work and make it through this. Together, we will make it. I titled this Nation United for Coffee. Invite you to come.
I love people's thoughts that this is about the truth and reconciliation, because it could be. It really could be. This is, so February of 2003, I was in Ottawa for work, actually, and the protest that was going on was against our involvement in Afghanistan, against going over there and shooting up wedding parties and, villages and stuff in order to free the people. And it's interesting how much that has to do with what goes on here too, right? It's always the same thing. Do you decide to get together with people or be against them? And I just have to say, I want to write a companion piece to that poem, because when I hear someone read it, or when I read it, or when I look at it, I always remember, gosh, I left out one of the best things in that poem. And that's where the march happened, and it was Parliament Hill. So we started at Parliament Hill, and we went around and we came back, and we went past the American Embassy. You guys seen the American Embassy in Ottawa? No? Okay, you know Darth Vader? It's like somebody chopped off his head and stuck it on the ground. It's like this giant Darth Vader head. It's a scary freaking piece of architecture. And I think, oh, you can tell so much about what people are up to by their architecture. And here's freaking Darth Vader's head looking towards Parliament. And the march had to go by there, and I kind of was looking at all the people, and those are mostly people who are living in Ottawa, right? And I'm just visiting, so it's fun to be the outsider and try and identify the organizers and try and see like who's been in on this from the beginning, who's just coming out for it. Not that I was very good at that, but that's why I really noticed this policeman, and he was watching the embassy kind of and looking out for the people. And I watched what was going on, and I actually stopped and talked to him, because I thought, that's not what I expected. I expected he'd be there for riot control. And I felt I had to go up to him and say, hey, I feel like I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking care of us. And he said, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. He said, I'm here to take care of you guys, because I know this is a controversial thing. And he himself was a veteran. And he didn't want to get big into his opinions about that. But my dad was a veteran too, and he was overseas as a peacekeeper, though. So even at that, there's a lot of controversy about that. But their job was to go in when they're asked, right, by the countries involved, and to keep the peace. That's different from becoming a nation supporting an invasion of a sovereign nation, I'm being filmed saying this, but it's a controversial thing that was done there. And that was what the protest was about. People were saying, now hold on a minute, when did we move from peacekeeping to trying to intervene in a war? When did that happen? And I didn't have an answer for that, so I went to go and listen to people talking about that, because I thought that we kind of need to know what we're doing as a nation in the world. We're a fairly small nation, really, and I kind of like the idea of us as peacekeepers in the world. Kind of like being able to say that's what we do, and the army goes out when Winnipeg floods and they put down the sandbags and they help the people, right? And they go out and try and keep the peace when somebody's had a ceasefire. Isn't that what we do? And so I wasn't comfortable with the idea that we were going on a combat mission in support of, and a lot of people there were like that too. They're like, in support of what? What exactly is the issue here that means that Canada is supposed to be involved? And so it wasn't so much a protest as a questioning. That was kind of the spirit there that was going on there. And I just happened to be in town, so I thought, well, this is something to check out. It's an historic moment to see what happens. And I was really touched by that the policeman was with the protesters, looking out for them. And it was really clear to him that these are just peaceful people. This is a peaceful nation we have, and these people have a responsibility to ask this question. And he was sticking up for their responsibility and the fact that they might feel nervous about the fact that there's going to be some kind of anti-demonstration, you know, because some people, and they got a right to their opinion too, because that's their opinion, and it is a free country. They can just as likely say, well, then we should be doing this because we have a trade alliance with the States and we have a responsibility to, you know, uphold democracy, and that's what we're doing. So it was clear to some people that that's what that mission was about. But the people who were there that day, and myself among them, we weren't clear what that was all about and why we should be taking that step. And that's one of the fundamental things about living in Canada, is we should take part. We should question things. We should go get involved. You know, stand up and go ask, at the very least, what is going on, what is happening here. And I'd like to think that the police, I'd like to think that that would be a good role for police, to be the ones who keep the peace within our community, so we can do that. I know that the reality is a whole much more complicated ball of fish than that. But gee, I thought that was so special that that guy was, you could see how much he loved all these people, and that he felt really proud of having been a veteran and now being a policeman and just helping to make peaceful spaces for people to talk about stuff.
What I find fascinating is that you saw that he loved the people. I'm not even sure I would have gotten past the stereotype, the caricature that I have. That's really interesting. Well, here's another universal Cree philosopher. One word: protest. One sentence: human rights now, tomorrow the rights of all Earth's inhabitants. One paragraph: when Indigenous people march in solidarity, it is breathtaking and peaceful often. We have many more marches in us. It's a powerful statement. Stream of consciousness. Natives together for one cause. Human nature is good. Even some policemen. It is a system that does not afford this true human nature to rise. Instead, it values only its own bottom line. One day, as the poem says, this will have changed, and we can get on the page of the earth and all of her children, the animals and rocks, the winds and waters. It is a peaceful protest song. Their tweet: today we will save our relationship, then coffee, then tomorrow we will save the world. I title this, How to Save the World, Coffee Breaks Included. My working definition of nation is, a nation is a unified group, unified by language, culture, or a shared experience. A nation is sovereign of other nations, and as such is not subject to impositions of law other than the law of that sovereign nation. Would you like to respond, and then we'll open up for questions?
Well, I love that. Get on the page of the earth. It's like you could put it on a t-shirt.
We have people here going into that.
Well, there you go. There you go. Whoever wrote that, if they don't mind you using it, that's a good one. Like, get on the page of the earth. I think people will go, what are you talking about? And then they'll walk around, yeah, that's right, we need to, that's right. I'm gratified that people like it so much, and I found it so interesting. They said when Indigenous people march, because the people who were in that gathering, they were like all kinds. I really saw the diversity of Canada. There was all colors, all denominations, all ages, and I thought, well, it's interesting that the idea that there's something to be talked about and something that they're not comfortable with in our national policy. It's interesting that that's cutting across lines of color and religion and race and age and economics, evidently. But it's also interesting we all went to Tim Hortons. Like that cuts across too. That's so, that's all right. That's so good. Yeah, sorry.
Questions. The only wrong question is the unasked question. And we've listened to a lot of music. This is, as Whitney Houston sang, one moment in time. We're not going to get this opportunity again, folks. So make the most of it. Whatever you never dared ask a poet, now is the time.
I'm more interested in hearing what everybody has to think. I'm more interested in what everybody had to say about their interpretation of your poem.
Okay, well here's another universal Cree philosopher again, and really what we're looking at here is they're all reading from the same page, and every single one of them is bringing a new reading to it. Well, here's another one. One word, parade. This is the first time it's not protest, it's parade. One sentence, hope that there can be peace in the world. One paragraph, the environment is peaceful, and no matter what nationality, authority, or citizen you are, there is no conflict when everybody is there for one thing, coffee. We can all get along, just got to change the environment. Stream of consciousness. When I was young and growing up on the reserve, I didn't know too many people of a different race. It was my teachers who were non-native, though. And so seeing them every day made me realize that there were. I didn't understand racism till I grew old enough to understand politics. I learned about the war and hate crimes around the world. I heard stories of hate towards my own race. But today, I am not the hater towards everybody's race. And I'm glad for that. I see us all in one room having coffee in peace. Their tweet, a coffee at Tim's makes the world go round. Their name for this, a fresh cup of unity. My working definition of nation, a place where everybody who lives there is proud to be a part of and who helps to keep it safe and also make it better. A nation to me is my community and also my country. I invite you to riff on that.
Yeah, the one thing that actually there's a bunch of them, isn't there? Can I hear a couple more? Because there's something that happened this morning that reminded me there's something I have to say about this poem. I didn't know it was coming, so it's interesting that the radio has been offering me all these things that are relevant today. But I'd like to hear a couple more people's takes first, if you don't mind, just to see if somebody else tagged it.
Because of our limited time.
Oh, okay. Okay, here it is.
We're gonna get in.
Okay, here it is. Coffee. And I'm a coffee fiend. When I'm buying for at home, I try to buy organic fair trade. When I'm on the road to drink Timmy's, it's got to be Timmy's because it's the coffee of traveling, and you always know what you're going to get is good. So this morning I'm driving along, but I've got my home brew with me because I made too much. Forgot my mom's visiting Saskatchewan. There's too much coffee in the pot. I better take it along. And on the radio they're talking about fair trade. Does it work? Does it not work? Is trade a way to deal with poverty? And this whole fair trade labeling. And of course they're talking about coffee growers. So it's interesting when you said, we can all agree on coffee and it's all peaceful if we're having coffee. Oh yeah, that's right, it's peaceful here. But in the coffee producing lands is the same stuff, right? There's people being massively exploited and living really impoverished lives in order to produce cheap coffee. And that's a thing we've got to solve too, right? That's a thing we've all got to take on in some way. And I think Indigenous people are uniquely poised to do that because we drink so much coffee. And because we know what that is. We don't know what that is to So if there's some entrepreneur here who hasn't got an idea yet for what they're gonna do,
They do.
fair trade farm to farm coffee for like indigenous people to indigenous people, I would so get behind that brand. You know, it could have like a little flying eagle with an espresso cup or something. You know, I don't know, but isn't that cool? Like we call it like nation to nation. You know, I don't know.
Well, folks, it's time to hear from you. Questions, comments, observations. The only wrong question is the unasked question. Winterhop.
Okay, I kind of talked to you about this a little bit. What do you do with procrastination?
I try to put it off. But you know what it is? I try to actually embrace it. And I used to feel it was like some kind of shortcoming, but now I say it's not ready yet. And when I say to the thing that I'm procrastinating doing, when I sort of put it out here and look at it and go, I know you think I'm running away from you, but I'm not running away from you. I see you there, and I'm just going to cook it in the back of my head a little bit more. And I give myself permission in that way to be looking at it while I do something else. It took me a long time to really recognize that. When I was at university, I didn't know what it was. But I would literally sit on the living room carpet and pick lint out by hand. I'd clean the whole carpet with my fingers rather than study. Right? But gradually I realized that was, it could be a weakness, but it can also be a strength, because as a writer, if I do something like that, I try to find something to do that's meditative, walking or picking lint, or you know, something that engages me physically but lets my mind kind of freewheel a bit. Then I find that whatever it is that's stuck in there has an opportunity. And if it's really bugging me, I let it know. I say, you know, this is bugging me. I can't get to it. I'll put it here, and I'll put it here, and I'll just do something to get out of my own way. Because it's just you're getting in your way because you figure you got to have it all solved before you can even tackle it. That's what I find anyway. So I just go, okay, I'm not ready for it, but I'm working on it while I do this other thing.
Interesting, because I work a lot with visual artists as well. And sometimes they'll have a few canvases in the studio. They've got one, and they know it's like an itch. and they just got to wait till they can work out that itch and then finish off that canvas. But they know there's a waiting time. Questions, comments, observations, please.
Okay.
Good.
I'll ask you everything. I talked to you a little bit about this too. Okay, so I'm a writer, but I'm so uncomfortable saying that. So I guess that's the question, is the confidence. Like, I write. I've been told that I'm good, but I don't think I am. It's just writing. So how do you get past that? How do you get past that? Like, what do you do? Like, for me, I like writing. It's what I like to do. I've just like you, like, ever since I was little, I wrote as soon as I could. And in junior high, I was swapping stories with teachers and my friends, and I'd write a page and I would give it to them and I'd say, okay, write the next page tomorrow. Like, I'd give them a deadline. Now I'm here today, and sometimes I just feel like maybe it's procrastination, but also maybe it's something else. Like, I don't know what it is. Why can't I just write? You know, I guess it's taking care of things. I don't know. To me, it's confidence. That's what my question is. Like, how can I build my confidence in writing?
That's a good question.
Very good.
That's a real good question. The only way to be a writer, here's a profound piece of wisdom passed to me by the great Thomas Trofimuk, who the day I got my $100 advance for my first book of poetry, got a $100,000 advance for a novel. Like, I'm in the wrong business. But Tom says to me that his friend Gail, who's also my friend, says to him before he wrote his first book, said, Tom, if you're a writer, why the fuck aren't you writing? Just sit down and write. And you can tell yourself all kinds of stories about whether you share it or not. But the only way around the writing, sorry for swearing in front of your baby, is just to write. You know, so maybe one way around that is to say, I'm going to write this stuff. That doesn't mean I'm saying it's all going out there. That doesn't mean I'm saying I'm better than anybody or I'm this good or that good. It's in me to write, I'm going to write. Like, we don't worry about whether we're good enough to walk to the corner, right? If we're going to walk to the corner, we walk to the corner, right? We don't worry about if I'm good enough to sit and eat dinner. Maybe sometimes we do if it's a fancy occasion, but that's a whole other story, right? You know, if you're going to eat, you eat, right? You're going to feed somebody, you feed them. It helps to think of writing, it's the thing that comes through you. Get out of the way of the writing. Don't let yourself get in the way of it. Just sit and do it. There's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron? Yeah. And that's got a good... Some of it's not something I was really finding so useful, but the one thing is the discipline of the morning pages. Get up every morning and you write your 3 pages. Even if it's crap, just write it. Even if all you're writing is, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to say, I can't possibly fill 3 pages with this nothing that I have to say. You make yourself write the 3 pages and pretty soon you find out that, oh, you know, it's just like anything else. You gotta demystify it. You know, as Wendy says, just demystify it. It's a thing that you do, so do it. We all are built to walk, to dance, to sing, to give voice to stories. So you're just doing what you're here to do. And it doesn't matter whether you're good or not. Really, just put that aside for later. Do it and let the work worry about whether it's good enough. It's coming to you. Who are you to tell it not to? There you go.
Yes, thank you. That's what dialogue is, asking these.
I think with writing, like when I was writing here, I don't consider myself a good writer, but I noticed I would write better when I had stream of consciousness. When it was more of the paragraph and the sentence and trying to complete that, that's when I couldn't really think about it. I was trying to create, but also devaluate at the same time. So that's when I, like, don't devaluate what you're trying to create at the same time. Do that later. Do the editing, your thoughts, and the reorganizing later.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good piece of advice. And it's true in anything you do, right? Generate it, then refine it. You know? You knock out the shape and then fix it up.
Get it out there.
Absolutely. Because then you can see it, you know, and that's not to say the craft doesn't matter, because I've heard people say that too, and I'm like, no, that's not what that is. It's the editing is an important part of the craft, but it is the next step, right? First the idea, figure out what you got to say, and then you apply the craft to it to knock it into shape. You know, in the craft of punctuation and word choice, and whether it's going to be a paragraph or a poem, all of that is just like picking the right tools for the house you're building. First you got to draw the house, right? And so you draft it out, draw the house. Okay, now what tools do I need to make sure that house is the shape I want it to be? And that's where the craft comes in. So just give yourself permission to draw the house. There. Good thought. Thank you, Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse! I was just thinking, okay, wait a minute. I'll remember. You are...
She's my shibboleth. I cannot pronounce her name.
Amioso. I thought it was like... Because I've lived around here long enough, I've heard that word. And so there you go. Thank you, Amioso.
Amazon has a question.
Hi. So I want to write a book myself. So do I just start writing and just go with it? Because I just keep like putting it off, and I just want to write. So yeah.
And it's, yeah, if you want to do it, you just do it. Which sounds pretty like Nike slogan-y.
Oh, well, we've been
And-
touching on that.
And let's not kid ourselves. When I say just do it, just write the book, I don't mean that in any kind of facile way. Don't kid yourself that you may have to train for this book, right? You might have to